It has been 3 months since Squad Busters initially came out and about 2 months since its global release. This was a game that confused a lot of people because it seemed like it went global way too quickly and the game just didn't seem ready for it. So now that it has been about 3 months of the game being out, let's actually take a look at it and see just where it is at currently and also whether or not it was a good idea to make this game global instead of Clash Mini, which is the game it had replaced. So let's get right into it. First, let's take a brief look at the history of the game from it first being a thing to its global release, since that will help us see how the game was upon global release and exactly why a lot of people thought the game wasn't good enough. So the game had originally went into a closed beta at the beginning of 2023 for 10 days during February, and after that it would have another beta for 1 week during May, and after that we wouldn't really hear much or see anything about the game until a few months ago, where it was announced that the game was going to be soft launching on April 23rd, and this was kind of out of the blue, and it was also just about 1 month after it was announced that Clash Mini was shutting down. So people would kind of start to say how Squad Busters was replacing Clash Mini. However, this wasn't definitive at all, since everyone thought that Supercell was just testing out the game normally, as Squad Busters still seemed pretty bare bones and it was clearly early on in its development. And leading up to the soft launch, Squad Busters obviously went through some promotion with videos explaining the game and stuff. However, what was a little strange was a video titled Squad Busters Needs to Go Global, since it came out 1 day before the game had even soft launched and before people had really even played the game, so obviously that was a bit weird. However, 3 days later it was then announced that the game was going global, which was honestly even crazier as it was only 2 days after soft launch. I mean, no one had enough time to even play the game that long or even understand everything about it, and the game definitely didn't have enough content for a global release, which is why this was so shocking and why everyone really started questioning the game and whether it was going to do good or not. When I heard about this, I was also really surprised, and my thought at the time was that Supercell was going to make big changes to the game and add in a bunch of new content by the time it global launched at the end of May. However, this wasn't exactly the case. In fact, the game would only receive some minor bug fixes and improvements until the 23rd of May, in which there was the first actual kind of update. However, this honestly wasn't anything too crazy. But anyways, that's pretty much everything that happened up until the global launch of the game, and the number one overall problem that people really saw and had was the fact that there was only one game mode and one motive to the game, and that was just to collect as many gems as possible, and it would be similar to the gem grab game mode in Brawl Stars. But inside of Squad Busters, it just had a lot more stuff, since I mean it was basically the entire game. So even after all this time, that problem hasn't changed because there is still only one major game mode in the game. And don't get me wrong, it is really fun. However, it starts getting less fun if that is all that you do, since it just gets repetitive after a while, especially because of the gameplay problem, though we'll talk about that later in the video. But as for the repetitiveness, well, there are two things I suppose that kind of help. First of all, there can be a random modifier each game that changes something going on, and right now there are 26 different modifiers, meaning they don't really get too stale, and that can help make things interesting, though some modifiers honestly just aren't that fun, so I suppose there is a balance there. And then you also have the different worlds that you unlock as you progress, and these just change the environment you are in, along with the enemy characters and everything, so that is a bit different and does change things up. However, the main objective of the game is still the same. So this is still a bit of an issue in the game, and I really do think that it needs to be addressed soon, because eventually people will end up getting bored of it, and I mean people are already getting bored of it, and that is preventing them from playing as much as they normally would have, assuming there were more options. And that is also what makes Brawl Stars so good, because that game just has a lot of different game modes and a lot of options for people to play, and that really just makes sure there is something for everyone. And seeing how similar both these games are, I really think that Squad Busters needs to add in at least one new game mode soon. But outside of that, there obviously are a couple of other things to look at in the game after global launch. One of the things that had made Squad Busters so appealing initially was the fact that it was extremely free to play friendly, and it was seen as the least pay to win Supercell game. So is that still the case now? Honestly, yes. Inside of Squad Busters, you actually really have to play the game in order to progress, and you can't really just buy your way through it, which I'd say is really good and means the game actually can't really even be pay to win. The reason I say this is because for a lot of the characters, you have to be at certain worlds to unlock them, and that means you actually have to play the game. It isn't like Brawl Stars in which you can just buy all the brawlers and buy all their abilities and level them up and everything without ever actually playing the game. You obviously do have the option to buy coins, but that doesn't help with unlocking the characters, so I wouldn't consider that pay to win. Plus, it is really easy for players to just get coins by playing the game normally, and it's not like you ever really need to buy the coins. They are just there for people who want to buy them, as it helps keep Squad Busters running through the revenue it generates. However, there obviously are more things people can buy inside of the game, with the main thing being the Gem Pass. Now, this has become pretty standard in most Supercell games, and it is basically something you can buy for real money, and it will just give you extra rewards and overall help with progression. And this is definitely worth it in my opinion, since the pass doesn't cost a ton of money, and the value it provides is just a lot for the price, but I definitely wouldn't say it is pay to win or anything at all like that. So it is good to see how the game is still very free to play friendly, and hopefully it does stay like that. But another massive thing we need to talk about is the gameplay. And well, this isn't quite as good. After the global release, it seemed like more and more people really started figuring out how to win the game, and it wasn't by building up a big squad and destroying everything, which was how Supercell intended the game to be played. Instead, there would really be the meta in which all you did was run around solo and just collect gems, and that basically turned the game into farming simulator, since you just would not fight and instead would only farm. Plus, with the Goblin, you can even just run around the gem mine all game, and it's really hard for someone to try and kill you because you are just so fast and can boost around quick enough to not get caught. And there would obviously be a couple of other characters that were good for just farming with, since all you had to do was stay out of the way of people and simply collect gems, and this was and still is a very viable strategy, which makes the game less fun in my opinion. And a big reason this is possible is because it is so easy to just get away from people, and that is a big problem as well. In order for the enemy to attack you, they have to stop moving. However, if you continue to move, then you get out of range very quickly, and that basically means the only way someone can kill you is if you stop, but you can basically just run forever, and that really kind of sucks for everyone involved. It's a waste of everyone's time, and honestly, I think Supercell needs to introduce some sort of stamina feature to make it so you can't just infinitely run. And it also isn't even your fault a lot of the times. Sometimes you just have people that decide to chase you all game and you are just forced to run, and it just ruins your experience since you can't even properly play the game. So overall, I really do think that Supercell needs to fix the gameplay to prevent infinite running, and they also need to make the game a little more interesting if it wants more longevity, though right now the game is still really fun as it is relatively new, and I am really hopeful for the future of the game, and I really do think it can do well, especially if it continues to be as free to play friendly as it is right now. But that's also it for this video. I really do hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.